Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Tushar Tejuja. I'm the founder and CEO at HackerTrail. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today. I'm sure we'll have more and more people that will join in, but we'll get started for now. So this is actually our first Tech 101 series, and super excited to have you here. And so just so you guys understand why we're doing this, because what we see is that, the information on the internet, there's a lot of it available, and you can really pretty much learn whatever you want, whenever you want. But what you don't get to hear as often is what's the industry perspective? What do experts have to say about a specific skill or a specific line of work? So in this case, today, we've got a fantastic speaker. And before I introduce him, I'm going to take you through a couple of housekeeping rules. So one is, if you have any questions at all after this, don't worry, you're going to have plenty of time for a Q&A session. So type in your questions off to the side. You've got a chat channel there. The second is, if you've got any technical issues, feel free to raise your hand, and Zoom allows you to do that, and then we'll be able to address that as quickly as possible. And so this particular session is obviously designed for those folks who want to sort of build their careers within UX. Right, and we've got with us a very distinguished speaker. His name's Samath, Aravinda Samath. He's got a very fantastic background. Let him introduce himself, but he's had many opportunities to speak in various different sessions, share his learnings, because he's also got multiple geographies and multiple types of industries that he's catered to and he's worked with. So I'll certainly hand over to him in just a second.
So we are not covering today that how to do UX methodologies like one-to-one, like as example, how to conduct a UX research and how to do a wireframe in detail. We are not going to do that today because this is mainly for the newcomers, like how to understand the industry and how you to survive, and like common things that you need to consider when you move into the industry as well. And today main focus for the industry people who want to move on, like focusing on maybe university people, or same time if you're switching your careers, you can focus on this as well. Next slide. So these are the milestones I'm going to achieve. Like I'll be giving you an explanation of understanding the UX tiers, and other hand, like how to overcome the basic things on the industry when you join for a company or before you join to the company, and so on. And understanding yourself, like where you stand currently and where you want to go in detail as well, because it's UX industries, like there are a lot of segments, a lot of details, like you can consider which segment you are going on as well, and what are the common mistakes that you'll be doing when you join and before you join as well. And before you applying for a job or any industry project, what kind of a case study target you need to do as well. And there are some few examples of real level Singapore experience of UX that have been done. If you have time, I'll share those as well. Next, please. So I think you have been aware of you need a small paper and pen. So just draw inspiration, what to get on the mind, and just show to your camera, just to get an understanding what you'll be doing. Don't spend much time, don't think about just what to get into your mind firstly, like when you hear the name inspiration. If you cannot draw, if you don't have pen and paper, you can speak it out as well or type it out on the chat as well. Just show to your screen what you have been drawn. If you not like to show it to camera, you can type it what you draw as well. But I prefer if you can draw it and show me. Okay, I don't want to spend much time on that. Can you type like how many of time people draw the bulb, light bulb? Okay, someone draw a smile. Yeah, good. Stars, purple. Okay. Trees. So that's a good one. Trees. So this is mainly to give you an understanding, because the lot of my students and all like mainly like thinking, okay, I cannot do UI, so how can I come into UX industry? So if you draw this thing, that means you can draw, like your normal understanding is there, like the flashlights, the bulb and so on, like inspiration, like yeah, I can see nice drawings you are showing. So most of the people understanding of the common world and so on, and you can draw things as well. So that means you can come do things up to wireframe level. So don't worry about if you cannot have skill of UI, cool UI designs or anything. you have an understanding of how common things work, and you can draw wireframe and you can do sketches. So you can play a part in the UX side. So don't worry about if you don't have a skill on UI, Figma tools, Photoshop, and so that's a common question I'm really getting always. So don't worry about that all the time. You can do a major part in the UX industry as well. You can learn UI things later on as well. But if you're already a UI geek, no issue on that. So it's added advantage as well. So I'll quickly tell you about my background. So I'm Samath Aravinda, NNG certified for UX, and I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm senior UX designer from GovTech, and I'm mentoring career founder in German as well for 25 students. And if you want, you can search for my URL, Samath Aravinda. Next slide, please. So a few things that to give you an understanding of my geolocation wise, I have been working in Sri Lanka. So my total experience is 11 years, and I have been worked for Sri Lanka and Norway and Singapore as well. And Singapore, currently I'm working for GovTech, and previously I was working for ICA, Singapore ICA projects as well. And Adra is a Norway company for accounting related things. So you can see a small picture on it's a building. So it's an iconic building that person who built the Marina Bay Sand in Singapore built the iconic building in Sri Lanka. So I was working on that, and I won the 2015 Best Marketing Campaign for User Experience gold medal in 2015 for that. I was working with the person who built the Marina Bay Sands as well. Next slide, please. So I don't want to go through all my years. So this is like a lot of companies I've been works, like sector-wise. I started from like hospital industry, then I moved into web design and service designs and a lot of startups in USA, and same time finance company, and have been given consultancy for service design for many banks in Sri Lanka, and work for Norway, and as I mentioned, Singapore right now as well. In Singapore, currently GovTech, I'm working for Smart Nation, one of Smart Nation projects. Yeah, next slide, please. So we'll go for understanding of the UX tiers. Next slide, please. So main consideration as a UX designer, you need to understand, like, are you solving a valid problem always? Like if your audience might be a lot of audience, and you need to understand the problem they're having, it is a valid problem you are solving, because like when you come to a industry level, there will be a lot of people who will be using the product, but from your stakeholder point of view, there will be only segment of like only little base of target audience. In that case, you don't need to solve the other people problem at the initial stage. Then you need to prioritize things. What's the problem you're trying to solve in first as well? And same time, if you come to UX industry, you might be doing some research in detail. So in that case, if you're having the problem for like only for like 1%, and you have a bigger problem for like 70%, you need to give priority to 70% of the users, not for the 1% of people who are having the problem. So because you can manage the time, and no need, because from stakeholder point of view, you need to cater the larger scale at the initial case. And other thing, like how do you take it into the market? Because all the time you will be thinking from the people who will be knowing your product. Like always, if you're doing a screen or if you're doing wireframe or anything, you will start from the login screen point of view, or the website. If it is a website, you just starting from the website homepage, but you're not thinking about how they come into the homepage, how they come into your application. So we call it that beforehand experience. Like when you're doing some journey maps of the users, or in case, you need to understand how you going to the market, how the beforehand experience come in. So these days, social media is like in large scale, this TikTok and so on. Like even you build a product, you need to think about, okay, in which market you are going to market this first, how will be reaching the audience first hand. And first, other thing, how do you make sure you're doing the right thing? Because always you might be doing crazy things, creative things, but it won't be suit for your audience. So that's why you need to do the user testing. Even you launch the product, you need to do some analytical on your product, what you have been done, and you need to validate as well. Because most of the people doing some product, you have been launched, so your milestone is achieved. When you join for a company, your salary is there, so no issue on that, you're on the comfort. So, but you need to make sure your product is going well and you need to proud of that product ultimately. So you need to think about your things are going right as always, because people change, people needs are changing, people problems are changing. So according to that, you need to adapt on that. Otherwise, your competitors will be reach your market as well. So to give you a heads up on like initial stage, like when the UX came into the market. So as like register office of your name, people just going and changing your name to John to David or something. If you want to change your name, as it is in the industry, all the UI designers designation change to UX designer without knowing what's actually this UX design is, what's about, and so on, because all the it's new to the market. So people thought, okay, UI is UX, and people just change that designation to UI into UX UI designer, or just UX designer, or UI UX engineer kind of situation. Next. And to give you a heads up, in a company, so these are like UX solution should be the main priority of the company, because you are the main base that all will be followed if you're doing a proper good job. So in that case, there's a room for UI designers, developers, testing, security, and so on. So this is related to IT company, but this can be a different company as well, not always an IT company. You might be a UX solution for a for a bank, but bank may not have an internal development people or testing people and so on. So you are the main core that will be guiding these things. Next slide. So UX solution, the person who doing the things will be the tier 1 UX designer, and other becomes tier 2 people. So that will be following things that what have been guiding and be flooding from the tier 1 person. So you can see that UI design also fall into tier 2. So tier 2 person always do visual designs like usability refinements, implementation like HTML and so on. So, or someone will be giving him a wireframe and doing some crazy visual designs. But if you are a really good UI UX designer, fall into tier 1, you will be doing the problem identification, the empathies, the ideation, the brainstorming. You will be dealing with the customers, the solution design like wireframes and so on as well. So you might be when you join for a initial company, you will just fall into the tier 2 because you are new to the company and you are mostly doing this UI design part. But you need to understand, you need to reach this part. Naturally, you become within the company, the people will be listening to you. You become naturally a leader. It's not about designation. It's not about your designation of manager or anything. Natural people will be listening to you, that you having a good ideas, you have good empathize of the product, you have good domain and so on. So you should always try to reach the tier 1 person. So next slide. So to become a skill of tier 1 user experience designer, you should improve your active listening skills, because always when you're doing with customer interviews or stakeholder interviews and so on, you need to listen properly what they're telling. Actually, you need to grab and understand what's their target market or whatever their needs and so on. And your analytical thinking, because you might be getting a lot of bunch of data to analyze when you're doing quantitative research and so on. And you need to should do like a problem solving, because for one problem you can get like a lot of solutions. When from a wireframe point of view, if you're talking about wireframe point of view, you might be doing a search function, but that search function you need to think about, okay, how others are doing. Like example, in LinkedIn, when you click on filtration, when you click on the checkbox, the data will be filtered out. But some filtration have, when you put the checkbox, you need to click on the apply button as well. Why same solution, same problem, you have two different solutions because of the data. LinkedIn just giving them like a quick filtration, but others might be thinking in a different opinion from their internal stakeholder point of view. So you need to understand what this problem, like how do you going to solve that in a different way, and what will be suited to the developers and so on as well. And same time, your PR skills, I would say that's for your own brand. You should need to present your things to your stakeholders or your managers or your product owners and so on. So you need to have kind of your PR skills as well, and improve your communication and your storytelling point of view. Storytelling point of view is a really good thing to have because you improve your empathy skills and so on. So this right side section is, I must say, you don't need this. I don't say you don't have psychology degree or anything. If you have these things in a company, you have more advantage as well. These are not a mandatory things, but you have more advantage as well. Sorry. Next slide. Next. So advantage of tier one, become a tier one is, so today's current edge technology, tomorrow become the most used technology, and day after tomorrow, it can become the outdated technology. I'm not sure you are familiar with like .NET. In my case, I'm an old guy, so that days we had .NET development and so on. But in a while, that become the most heaviest development platform, and then now no one use .NET. Same as example, browser, Internet Explorer. So that was the main browser at the initial stage. We were doing like website for IE6 of those days, but suddenly now it's become outdated technology. Same thing will happen to UI and so on as well, because UI today, the Figma is the main most used technology. Tomorrow can become something else, because back in 5 years time, Photoshop, I'm using Photoshop, I'm Photoshop geek. But today, without Figma is the most used technology these days. So you need to understand this mechanism and so how things work. So having UI, UX tier one skills improve you. Can you go to the next one? Improve you to have a good salary and have a stability within your company. So think like you join your company with value of X, that you will be having your basic understanding of UX and so on, and you will get a salary of Y. After 3 years, your values have been improved because of your skills of the UX and so UI and so on, and your salary also will be increased naturally according to the company hierarchy. But if you go for another 3 years, this can be within the same company or within the industry. The company can be changed. I'm talking about your career path. Your value will be same as it is, but your industry has been grown. Because of that, your value become less. So it will be reduced compared to the outside of the market, as I explained the initial cutting edge technology situation. But your salary will be improved, but within industry, your skills won't be stabilized. If you can go to the next one. But if you have the UX skills, the tier one skills, even though you don't have up to market, as example, if you don't have Figma in this way, but you have storytelling skills, you have like empathizing, you have management skills and so on. If you have tier one skill, you can play a role as a manager kind of a situation. You won't be getting a designation wise, but you are capable of handling clients and so on. You can understand the problem, you can give a better solution for the product. So having tier one will be good enough to survive in the company, and you will be highlight on the industry as well. So most of the time, some people say, Samath, but I want to be a UI geek. I just want to be idle. I don't want to be interact with the customers. I don't want to do research and so on. That's fine. It's up to you. So choice is yours. You can be a normal UI person and you can do some few UX and go ahead as well. But you need to be happy about like what you are doing on the product, and all the time like you need to achieve like it's not all about just delivering some crazy UI design. You need to dig into the things of the problems of the people all the time as well. So how do you know which tier you are in, like after you join for the company or not? Can you go to the next one? So if you join for a company like after 1 year or 2 years, like if you are just doing wireframe or UI, so you are just like someone will be giving you some guidelines, and if you're doing like wireframe or UI, you should just go in for a Behance and Dribble and looking for things, what are the new things has been on, and you just doing wireframe and UI, you are the tier one from my understanding and from my opinion. Or are you following someone's wireframes, or if you're doing like a solo, you're not showing to the other people and getting some opinion, even it's a negative or positive. So uh, you become like a solo person on UI, so you become the tier one according to my understanding. Or if you're on a web design industry, because some people still doing some web creations and so on, if you're just emailing your designs to your customer or the directors or the manager, that's also not a good thing. Like you need to explain the things from your designs, what you're doing. It's not about this is the logo and this is white color, this is red color, this is the negative space and so on. You need to give them, I have been put this banner because of this kind of a user persona group, this kind of a customer audience look for this kind of a things. So I need have been empathize above the fold in website. Before you scroll, we call it above the folds scenario. The laptop visible area, we call it above the fold area. So above the fold area, we have been highlighted these kind of things. If you look like always for Behance and so on, like all the time, like before looking at the research part or customs, like, so you need to do a website or product for, we assume like you're doing for a Pizza Hut, or you going to design the Grab app. You might be just looking another delivery app or anything from Behance, and you just looking at the company you're redesign, but you're not looking of the actual problem. So that will be a case that you will fall into TM1 as well. Next slide, please. So how do you target, like if you're in a, I saw like some 14% kind of a people in tier one. So how you, sorry, tier two. So how you become target to become a tier one person, like do your work asks that have been asked for, like you need to do your day-to-day job, so that for sure, like don't skip those because of you want to do some research and so on. So do your things that you have to done quickly as possible, and don't spend time on perfection like 1px. Like I have been seeing, if you're a really UI geek, I also like that in early stages and from the UI, do your 1px perfection, like so on when you're doing UI. But same time, if you're spending on wireframe and so on, like don't consider those, because first you need to understand the research point of view and the user's problem and so on. When you're doing the UI part, you can do that perfection in a perfect manner, but don't spend on time if you're doing on the UX part. I have been seeing from even the wireframe, some people are doing the perfection and spending a lot of time. Keep that time to do your research and your other journey map creations and persona and so on. And next, please. Put some time for UX deliveries, like even they don't have to, because most of the time they will be asked from you like a UI screen or some kind of a design. So in that case, just don't jump to do the UI design or responsive design. Do some persona creation, understand some problems, look for some other competitors and so on. Do some flow creation first, and see, okay, from this page how they go. As I mentioned earlier, look how this will be going to the market and so on. Like if you think about that, if you're putting a Facebook PPC campaign, so when you click on that, it doesn't go to your what do you call desktop for most of the users, because most usage for FB is mobile. So in that case, your site will be open on the mobile. So then what should you prioritize? Are you going for responsive design? Are you going for adaptive designs on your mobile responsiveness and so on? So just don't do a design always. Think about your other scenarios, other problems and situation. It will be easy when you're presenting to your client or the managers. You have things to say, because I put this on top or put this kind of a feature because of this problem is there. I know to giving this solution for those kind of a segment of people. Otherwise, then when they ask what's the behind situation why you put this kind of a feature on this, you don't have things to say because you didn't follow those kind of a analytical research kind of a situation, or you didn't understand. You just saw something on Behance kind of creative design, or you come up with a creative design and so on, but it will give a visual impact, but it doesn't fall, like it doesn't solve the actual problem that you want to solve. You might be solving that problem in a later stage, but it will take time. At that time, the people have maybe leave your product or website or situation. Next slide. Also, same time, spread your knowledge, like do some internal workshop if you jump into UX situation, because sometimes your team is not aware about like what's UX is. They also thinking UX is UI most of the time. So do some internal workshop with them most of the time. In this pandemic situation, you cannot do like one-to-one internal workshop, but you can use some tools like Miro and so on, and you can do internal workshop with them together. So then they also get aware of what you're doing and what's your thought process and coming so on. So always do small internal workshop to spread your knowledge, that what's your thought process. Then naturally, like they will speak your language. Like when the time goes, you don't get like a good bond at the initial stage because they also knew, they also adapting. But when you continuously doing some internal workshop, then you showing things in a detailed level, they also get an understanding. So initially in my early days, when I'm talking about personas, the entire company doesn't know about persona, what's persona is. We don't know about persona. We just want to sell this product to this kind of target audience. But when I naturally doing some internal workshop and so on, they talk about me like, okay, we'll do a persona creation. So they naturally become UX people as well. It doesn't always not about you. It's a collaborative workshop and collaborative UX. Always it's a UX experience of a collaborative thing, I would say. Next. Same time, so this is like, you might be thinking, okay, tier 1, tier 2 is naturally where you need to play to survive in the company. But same time, there are designers. This is for designers called T-shape designers, like I-shape designers and X-shape designers. So even though like T-shape designers, like you're capable in a lot of things, like you can do research part, you can do front-end development, but you're mainly capable of only one thing. Like as example, if you're a creative visual designer, but you know how to do your UX part, you know some kind of a front-end development and so on, but you're pretty good at visual design. So then you become a T-shaped designers, but same time you can still be a tier 1 UX person as well. So these are mainly for your internal skills to understand what you're mainly capable of. I-shape is like create in like one thing. You are just doing UI. Okay, I cannot do more than that. X-shape designers are like more like managing and like entrepreneurs and so on as well. This is to just to give you an understanding, because most of people will thinking, okay, if I'm a T-shape designer, so where I'm falling to tier 1 or tier 2. Even though you're capable of one thing, still you can be a tier 1 person as well. So if you have question of the tier 1 situation, you can place it on the chat as well until I go to the other come, like how to overcome the basic things. So first thing before you join, so I'll start from when you applying for a company or a project or anything. So always learn from your rejections. So you might be applying for like 100 companies. It can be reject from the initial stage, and same time learn from the job descriptions as well. What you want to like, how the market goes, so on. Same time, like if you're applying for outside from Singapore, as example, for a Europe country. So Europe country understand how their season works, or they have winter sessions and so on. In the winter session, they go for like 2 months vacation. There's no operation at all. So even the HR has been proceeded, the other people are not there. So how those kind of things are there. So your application might be done in September, but you will get a call in February. That can be happen as well. So be panic because you didn't get a call or you got a rejection. Don't get panic, so on, because things can be get delayed. At the same time, they're looking on to their situations as well. It's not about you might be perfect, like still I'm also get rejected because of for some companies I'm not a good fit because they are looking at a specific situations. So don't get like disappointed and don't give up on situation, because I have been seeing a lot of juniors have been giving up because you have been, maybe you have been done a boot camp or UX courses, but you didn't get a job within 1 month. So don't give up on that situation, because you need take time to fit onto a perfect match as well. Next. Also, same time, like when you join, like in case, not in case, if you join for a company, like don't get be idle, like ask your entire question from your mentor or your buddy or the leads, because you're new to the company. Even your experienced person, ask things out from the internal people, because they know, they have been joined before you, so they know about the product. So main thing is you need to understand the domain first. Without knowing about the domain, you cannot do anything at all. So ask out questions, like don't be shy or anything. Like the same time, share your thoughts with the team, even you feel like it's small thing, like when you're doing a workshop. I have been seeing like interns or junior people don't share like small things like, shall we have a sign up button, shall we have social media login. They're not sharing that all, because others may thinking in a big level, like they are trying to dig into a big fish, but they might be ignoring the small fishes. So you can play around that, you just throw it out, no issue on that. So you can improve your communication skill, how to tell the thing to your seniors, your clients, and so on. And same time, don't play the comfort zone, because when you join for a company, initial thing is, if you don't understand your domain and if you don't share your thoughts, naturally other people will give you the groundwork. They will give you, okay, I have been done the wireframe, just do a UI design. So you also doing the UI design, you become the comfort. So you get the salary, your product is going on, all things fine, then you become the comfort zone. So if you fall into comfort zone, naturally you become the tier 1% and you just, your things are going on. You will have a case study ultimately, but that's only your UI part. You don't know how things have been come into the plate. So yeah, don't play the comfort zone on that. Next. Another thing is, I've been seeing this a lot, like if two buddies fall into a group, like this can be happen, like you will be found a buddy or a good friend after you join, or you, some I've been seeing interns or juniors joining to a company together most of the time, or they will get to know from the company after you join, if you're same university and so on. So there are like bro codes and friend zones and so on. Like you're not stopping, you're stopping at things that will be affecting on the meetings, like because of your bro code or your thoughts, like because my friend told this. Sometimes when you're doing workshop or if you're doing like A/B testing kind of thing, you need to vote for a particular thing, because my friend told this, okay, I'm also going align with that, so on. So don't be that on the industry market, because when you're doing the UX and so on, like you need to share things, you need to speak it out. So play your own thing, give your thoughts out frankly as possible. I'm not telling you are like this, but there are people like this and the people fall into this situation. So don't go on that. Next. Other thing is like, this is called imposter syndrome. Like there are a lot of articles on this too. I don't want to go into detail, but the best part is like, don't think like what I know and others are know in a larger scale. So reality is like others also know small chunks as well. Even like you might be having, if you fall into a team of 10, you might be thinking, okay, all 10 people came before me and they know all the things. Maybe they also don't know all the things. They maybe like don't know like small chunks and so on. So this is not for junior, even seniors. Even sometimes I also feel in some companies when I went for a Europe countries, I also fall like this situation because I'm new to Europe at that time. So I also thought like this kind of a scenario. So overcome that. So like be resourceful always. So that will be good, because when you're telling something, when you're showing something, if you are resourceful, about your domain and how you came on this background, you can be the boss, I would say, on the product. And how to understand yourself. Next, please. So understand your shape and like how you want to improve. Like this can be changed like when you're going up the ladder. Like now you have been understand yourself, but when you're going like after 1 year, 2 years, these can be changed. Next slide, please. So this is called coordinate exercise. So this is have been introduced for products, not for particular person, but we have been doing this for individual persons as well to understand their current situation and where they want to improve. And after some exercise, after some particular period they have been worked, again we are doing this exercise to understand are they achieve that. So you can see on the left side, so that's one of my students. The light gray one is the starting point of that student. At that point, that person is more into web design side. So he want to improve on web design side, not the business strategy or marketing strategy and so on. So these elements, even this is like a business strategy and market research. So this can be UX research. This is the coordinate exercise is a common scenario, but you can do this exercise to your cases that you can put what you like to do. Software design, web design, UI, research part, and so on. You can go to in detail to this amplifying design. This I will explain in detail as well. And from this, you can understand what's your current situation and where you want to achieve. After some time, you can do again and see how it has been done, achieved or not. And next. So these are like common mistakes, like and like you're not considering all the time. Next. So first thing is like you're not validating users problem all the time. Like when you're doing the things initially, you'll be like empathizing the users. Some people, if you're family with personas, people do proto personas. People think proto persona is the actual persona that you have been identified, but that's not the case. You need to do like marketing personas and you do some research and grab the data to go for a particular persona. And if you've done the proto persona, you need to validate is that persona is correct or not. So you're not validating sometimes because you're doing the proto persona, the things are going around, so you're going forward, you just kill that situation. Okay, I have been done the persona, but you didn't validate that. So make sure you validate the persona all the time to understand the problem correctly, and check your stakeholders expectation all the time. You might be thinking, okay, these are the problems, okay, I'm going to give a shot on that, I'm going to solve this, but your stakeholder might be having a different perspective. You share your example. I have been work for a Sri Lankan tea company. He's an exporter. I done his web solution and the internal system. But at a time I did a good job in I think 2007, according to my understanding. But when I presented to stakeholder, he have a different perspective. He want to do this selling for eco-friendliness and eco path. So then my solution is not going to work. There's stakeholder expectation. So all the time, make sure your stakeholder expectation is achieved also. And same time, as I explained earlier, like beforehand experience of the product. So you always starting from the home page. If you're doing a design or if you're doing a wireframe or a flow, you just always start from the home page or the login screen. You're not always not thinking about the beforehand, how they come to this page. You have been done the product, you have been done the login screen, you have been done into the app store or the whatever this store you're selling, but you're not thinking, okay, how people know, how can I spread the word of mouth for them as well. So think that case as well. If you're familiar with journey maps, so you can add a column on the journey map beforehand experience when you're doing the journey maps as well. And not maintaining the flow, I have been seeing like quite a lot this. Sometimes I'm also forgetting to update the flows as well. So as a practice, you maintain your flow. Like when you're doing a design, then things come later on, the features are coming and so on. Then you directly, because you're thinking, okay, I'm perfect enough, I have the domain knowledge, okay, I'm confident. So you just doing your screens and you doing flows as well. Maintaining a flow as well, because then you can have one picture to understand, okay, where things going, where this is going to affect, and so on. If you cannot maintain the flow, I have been seeing this, you can follow the wire flow concept. So that's called wireframing and flow together. So then when you're presenting also, it's easy to do it for the presentations as well. You don't need to switch between flows and your wireframes. You do together. It's called wire flow. You can search it out on the Google. Same thing, from one screen, you're doing the flows and the concept as well. So that thing you can hand over to the QA people as well if you need them for later stage. And do some self checks like back buttons, like as example, when you're doing like prototyping testing, like your prototype doesn't have the back button, you will be having understand, okay, I know there's a back button there, but when you're doing the user testing, it doesn't work properly. And if you're doing research part, before you go for the customers interview and so on, do a background check, send some email and ask your normal background. Are you familiar with laptops on Skype or so on? Because these days you need to do things in online. Then when you're presenting things, they are not familiar with the Zoom, or they're not familiar with Skype or anything. So just do a background check beforehand as well. One of my experiences, like when I'm doing Europe user testing, he was speaking in English, so he's totally fine. So I also have a mutual understanding of he's familiar with English. He's a Denmarkian. But when I'm doing the user interview scripting, when I show to him, he cannot read. So then only I realized he cannot read English. He can talk English, but he cannot read English. So I need to stop my user interview at that point. I couldn't conduct the user testing because he cannot read the script what I have been proposed to them for the user testing. So you need to do like a background check beforehand. You come into things like have a maintenance scripting for before check all the time. And same time, be ready with details. As I explained earlier, when you're showing design, you need to be resourceful. Suddenly your stakeholders will be asking why you need this kind of a dashboard or this kind of a feature here. So then you need to have things, you need to have personas, you need to have problem statements or problems that you need to give your statement and validate your statement, what you have been done. So that can be a debate. I don't say whatever you do will be approved or whatever will be finalized. But when you have things, the other party will have a confidence of, okay, this person is talking my business. This person is know my business. He's on my shoe. His empathy is there. So in that case, you will be in a good manner for the stakeholder. Next. Next. So case study targets, like all the people, most of the time you're asking like, do you need to do a lot of case studies for your portfolio and so on? So I would say don't do things. I will summarize into three, like don't do total rebrand of existing one. Like if you're a really UI person, do it. Like don't take Nike and rebrand. If you're a UI person, do it. But if you're a UX person, I would say, if you're doing that, do some research part or use some surveys and so on. You might be not doing the final design, but you can do the initial part. You can do like a research and you can put it on a survey. Okay, I have been understood on the Nike application this kind of problem. So I have done a quantitative research and I have been put these things and I have been derived these kind of thing. You can put that into, it's not always about showing screens on a case study. You can show what have been done as well. And don't do case study on the same sector, like don't do McDonald's and KFC, both are in the same sector. Do total two different sectors. Then you also gain some different knowledge about the users, like how different sectors users are different. And same time you have things to say on your case study explanation. And always don't think about website design. Even you're into website, look onto the applications as well, because I have been seeing a lot of people doing websites as well. Even you can see in my site also, I have been listed down the websites, but because I cannot show my application because it's all high security data. So in that case, you can show the high level and you can show on the interview stages as well. And do is like go for feature of existing product or service, like do comparison analysis and so on. If even you're not going for a complete redesign, so you can do that process. Like the main case study thing is you need to explain the process you have been done. Your end result might be perfect. You can show your fail points, what you have been improved and so on. You can do on that. If you don't find a product, so a lot of people think I cannot find a product, I cannot do McDonald's or anything. Then do one case study of like your own, like you do take as an example. Okay, you will be doing your own product. You will be doing a health monitoring application. You create your problem and do that according to UX process and listed out that what are the process you have been done. I don't want to share the name, but one of Singapore interns that selected to the Silicon Valley company has been selected because not she has been done the actual product. She just showcased how she has been done the persona, how she has been done the research and so on. So you can do that as well. And go for best 2 case studies, like mention what went wrong, also like in a positive manner. In the interview case, don't mention that I have been went wrong and so on. As I explained earlier, that I went wrong on my user interview because of the language I have been didn't check. So tell that in a positive manner. Don't say that, okay, I forgot to check things. Put it on this manner. This is my first time I learned this and so on. So put it on positive manner, your negative impact as well. Next, please. So this is kind of a pre-storytelling and post-storytelling practice. So this is for your more to storytelling, improve of your storytelling and how to improve your empathic skill as well. So you can take a picture. Sorry, next slide. So you can take a picture and do empathy of why one person is not using the trolley. So you can think of a situation and do a storytelling on this. You can do several ways. You can say, okay, this person entering the supermarket, they didn't saw the trolley because trolley is in a different place. But this person is on the phone, he already observing things and he already a regular customer, he knows where the trolley is. And he took this trolley and go on. Or else you can say, that person just came to the supermarket to buy one thing, but when he come to inside the supermarket, he grab all the things and he just carry on things. So you can look at a picture and you can say things that what has been happened to improve your storytelling skills. No need to be shared with others, but you can do your own exercise to improve that kind of a situations. Next, please. And this is the pre and post storytelling situation. You're looking at a thing and you will be telling, okay, what's happened before this situation. Like this, you can say, okay, there's a COVID alert came in and people rushing to the supermarket. So that's what happened. What will happen next? Okay, there's a lockdown going on, or the alert is a fake. You can tell in a different ways. In Europe, this is a kind of an interview question as well that giving to us some companies, like they are giving us a picture and they are telling me what's happened before and next in a detail, not as I said in like in a small words. They explain, telling us to give us a brief explanation what happened and so on to understand how our storytelling skills and empathizing is behaving. Go to next. Okay, I think we have time. If we don't have question, I can quickly show, if you guys can say, I can quickly show things. So these are like a recent SG example of how they have been improved on UX more than UI, considering. One is McDonald's. This McDonald's kiosk is not updated to all the branches, but some you might be seeing. They have been dropped the payment method at the initial stage, because initially in McDonald's, they ask the payment method first, and then you need to go to the order. But now they have been dropped that. Some kiosks might have the old one. And they have been removed the sidebar in detail, and they have been have the parallax situation with the thumbs. Next one. This is the most common thing. This is based on research. I also a little bit involved on this situation. That's why I know. They have a peak time of the school times and the reach of the kiosk. That's an issue. So they have called reach mode at below. So when you click on the reach mode, your entire kiosk screen will become half screen, so they can achieve. So that you can reach the bottom area. So this is mainly for kids. This is an accessibility standard. Actually, people might be thinking accessibility is only for disabled people and so on, but it's not. This is mainly research based. According to reduce their peak times, they have been come up with this to cut down the kids queue time and reach options. Next, please. So this is like a OCB bank. This is mainly based on the comparative analysis. This is the ATM screen. They have been improved. Initially, you cannot say have this quick cash option in OCBC bank ATM machines. If you're familiar with ATM OCBC account, you might be seeing this red screen that they have initially. But according to their comparative analysis and their research, they have understood there are withdrawals that have common withdrawals that always people take. So they have been implementing this as well. So this is the place that they have been considered UX most, top of UX, top of UI as well. Yeah, next. Yeah, so I think always this is, I would say, like what always matters is like what you know, like what you can prove to others as well. So that will be help if you become a tier 1 person always. Yeah. Thank you for if any questions.
Awesome. That was fantastic, Samath. Thanks so much. I think I learned so much about UX, and I've been in this field for a while now, not as a UX practitioner, but as an entrepreneur. So I think you shared a lot of good perspectives, and I think dovetailing it back into careers and what it means like for people to take and think about was particularly useful. So thanks so much for that. And now what we're going to do is we've got just a few minutes. We've got about 30 plus questions, a quick shameless plug from our end that our community is thriving with sort of building on those mentors and giving you guys the opportunities to have all of those tough questions answered. So feel free to post your questions to the community. Samath's actually committed as one of our experts and mentors on UX to be able to answer some of them for you over there as well, along with, connecting with him offline. And now we're going to cut to Q&A. So if I can just have the first question, please. I think we've got about 30 or 35 plus questions that have come in. We're going to pick a certain set which we think are overlapping. So team, whenever you're ready, paste the first question in and we'll get started. Okay, the first one. How can I ensure that I can get a UX job with an entry level at a fundamental level? Yeah.
It's like this. So fundamental level in the sense like you need to show you're enthusiastic to got into job, because when you're new, so that's why I told you, when you don't have a initial case study in your portfolio, you can do some kind of a research. It doesn't matter, you will be doing like start to end, but if you do, like as example, if you go to McDonald's and if you've done this reach mode, and if you put it into some your Word document or anything, like if you can find a problem on the real market and if you try to solve kind of situation, then because we know that people who are entering, we know that you are coming as a junior, we don't expect from you like a end-to-end process and so on, but we want to see that how eager are you into this UI and UX. So I think you need to prove that by doing some kind of a detail, like if you doesn't done anything and if you sending the CV that it doesn't, your selecting priorities low in that case, because I have been seen even in Singapore, a lot of interns and a lot of juniors have been done a lot of things that just looking at the outside. Last week I had a team group of people have been gathered around and they are trying to do an application for the blind people who can travel with bus, like they're just doing their prototype. That may be not be a product that will be going live, but they're trying to do this exercise and they are improving their UX things. So you can do those kind of things as well. I must say, you need to do those kind of a detailed product that can be solved in a Singapore situation, but you can do small things to show that you're eager to got into this job and this industry.
Awesome, thanks. So next question, this is a rather loaded one, but in the interest of time, if you can just share a couple of thoughts on this. What would someone experience in their first 3 months in a UX position, which means someone who's fresh off the blocks, first 3 months in UX, couple of things, what do you think they would experience?
They will experience that you have been left over. That's the first thing. You will be feel left over, but because you are new to the industry, you don't have the domain knowledge and you're not feeling good to speak out. So that's why I mentioned earlier also, ask questions from the mentors and get to know your domain first. So that's not about your UX skills, something you need to know about the domain, like where are you going to work on. And other things, yeah, that the thing you will be facing. Other thing, people will be give you work because you're new and so on, like can you do this and so on. That's what I say. You need to go that into in detail and do it. Then you will be thinking, okay, I came to UX, but I'm now doing just UI. Or you might be just doing some interview question scripting for UX research, or you might be just joining for the workshop and you just doing the voting on the UX A/B testing or anything. Don't be left out all the time. Take that as experience as well, because you need to know even in the workshop, okay, where to do the how to do the workshop. Learn that as well. Even now itself, I'm going for some kind of a workshop to get to know how they are conducting. Even I know that topic that they are conducting, I just want to see how they are conducting, but I can grab that how they are moving on in situation. Yeah, so that's what I would say mainly, that you will be feel that people are not giving you much responsibility at the initial stage because you are new, so you will be experienced, and don't be like, okay, I'm left over, I cannot go into that. So and same
Okay.
time you will be get a lot of rejection sometimes, like when you do some UI designs, okay, this is not going to work for us. Don't feel bad, because they might be have a point from their business point of view and their seniority point of view. So learn from those. Try to be jump the ladder from that situation as well. Then you will get to learn, and you will be having a things that how to face for your rejections as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Samath. I guess one burning question for a lot of the audiences here are, how do we prepare for a UX job interview? So I guess there's a lot that can be done, but how do we prepare for that one interview, right? Any quick tips and pointers that you can give us?
First thing, if you've done a case study, be ready with that case study, how to explain that case study, because at the interview question you might be asking, okay, explain this case study. If you present two case study, they will ask, share your case study experience and so on. Then they will be in detail, like don't say just, okay, I did the persona, I did the user research. Be in detail in this situation. Okay, I did user research with this number of people. I did an interview like this number of 5 people or 3 people. That can be low amount, but share those as well. Then they know, okay, you know how to explain your case study as well, not just to do as it is. And refer some interview questions, like there are some interview questions in internet that related to UX. Improve on your user storytelling, this empathizing skill and so on as well. Main thing is be detailed about your case study when you explain it.
Awesome. Thanks. Two more questions. I think we'll wind down because we're a few minutes over time. Lots more questions to be answered. Again, Samath will be available on the community side. But one that just came in from Justin, which I thought was pretty relevant and interesting. Question he asked is, the first UX job that you would take on, should you take on one as part of a startup or an MNC? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, that's a really common question.
Yeah.
I would say, so people might be thinking, do I need to join for a big company? If you got into a Google kind of a big company, it's good. I would say it's really good. But same time, there are a negative impact as well, because there are things has been listed down, there have been processes and so on. You need to follow kind of a design guide and so on as well. If you're joining for a startup, if you're a solo, I would say you will be in a trouble, because you don't get a mentorship, or you don't get a guidelines like how to guide on the industry in a big level. But if this startup or whatever, it doesn't matter, even startup, even in a big company, if you're a solo person, if you're new to the industry, you might be doesn't get like interaction, and you don't get a guide on that. But if you have a team, even one person, I think that will be a good fit, I would say.
Awesome. That's very good advice.
I mean, at the initial stage, but if you have experience after 2-3 years, if you're confident enough, you can just jump into solo design as well.
Yeah, I echo that altogether, right? I mean, when you're working for a startup, you just take the blinkers off.
Yeah.
You learn so much so quickly. So me, for one, I may be slightly biased, but I highly recommend it. Okay, the last question that we're going to have is, which is very pertinent to the society right now, is lots of people have lost their jobs due to the pandemic, and UX design, it's sometimes underappreciated, or UX in general is underappreciated in companies, and so people tend to get laid off. So if someone's been out of work for well over a year and they're trying to get back into the workforce, what would you think that their step 1 to 3 is to reignite that and get back into the workforce?
It's like this. There are companies that think when you're cutting down the budget, okay, I don't need this person, I can get some freelancer or some UI geek can do some situation. But there are companies same time that really want to go into UX industry, and same time they want really research part as well. So it's really about the timing and so on as well to find the perfect company, I would say. But from your side, I would say do some case study cases as well. So if you want to join, I can share that these days I'm doing some research on like Singapore people who's lost their credit cards or debit card, how they have been reacting to that situation, how they canceling their card with bank. So I'm doing that research. No one told me. I just want to look onto that research, how people reacting to that situation, how the banks that kind of a feature has been implemented. So you can do those kind of a thing to keep up to date. Pandemic situation is really, it's a edge case, I would say. It came like nowhere suddenly. Keep trying, and if you're not have been in touch for that case, try to find with a or join for a company. Some companies are asking for UX research joining, as like there won't be a pay at the initial stage, I would say, but join that and take some experience on that as well, or join some boot camps. You can join here as well, HackerTrail, or you can join for other companies that have some boot camps, doing like 6-hour, 3-hour boot camps to do that kind of a workshop, 1-day workshop as well.
And if I could just add in, Samath, from my perspective as well, right? This is more generic advice, but very relevant for anyone who's trying to find their way back into the workforce. The pandemic hasn't been kind to anyone, and the reality of it is lots of us have lost jobs. I've had that experience myself 2 times over. I'm losing my job. Getting back into the workforce isn't as hard as you think, because if you've got the skills and the mindset, you can do it. Now, if you want to showcase it, remember that void which happens, you have to bridge that. You have to be able to show that you're bridging that void, right? So go take on those short courses, as he said, tune up your resume, spend some time on it, right? Showcase what your highlights are and how you stand out from the crowd. The other one cool trick that people do really often, I've started to go more often now, is take the time and invest the time to do something special for a company that means something to you. So, you may apply to 50 job opportunities, but if these 3 or 5 companies that you particularly care about and you want to get in front of them, do the right thing. Look at the job description, try and create some sort of a case study, market yourself to them, connect through LinkedIn. Most people are friendly, they'll connect. One secret is, if you're trying to get the founders' attention, lots of them are on Twitter. So try and get their attention on Twitter, send them a case study. There's this very famous thing that happened with someone who got into Airbnb. She actually sent a 5-point or a 5-page slide deck to the CEO at Airbnb saying, I may not have an Ivy League degree, et cetera, but I have this, and I think this is what you should do. He was super impressed. It went very, very viral, and she got herself a fantastic job at Airbnb. So things happen. You just have to make that initiative, take that initiative to do that little bit extra, because now's the time. Yeah, and I think with that, we've got tons of questions coming in, so we will have to hold, unfortunately, because we are way past time. I want to say thanks so much to everyone. This was fantastic. We've got one last thing, which is we'd like you to register and join our community. So please feel free to scan that QR code or log in from there, and Samath will see you there online. Again, it's pretty easy to find him on LinkedIn as well. So go ahead and do that. And again, thanks so much for being a fantastic audience. So let's wrap up. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.